Hello there, Charlie Cushane. I have a garage wood shop where I'm constantly moving tools in and out, and I need a better way to control dust and collect dust because I have a standard 5 horsepower shop vac that the filter keeps getting clogged, as you can see here. Now, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube about cyclonic filters or separators like you see here. This is the Clearview Mini Cyclone. What I intend to do is build a system where you vacuum into this first and then it goes into the shop vac so that the filter of the shop vac hardly ever gets used. Now this has been done a lot. Most people buy a cyclone and they attach it to a 5-gallon pail. I've noticed after watching like 30 different videos, and they're very well done, I think I can make some improvements to it. One of the things I can improve on is this bucket is way too small. It's only 5 gallons and you need something much bigger. Look how big this is. So we want to now make this much bigger. That's one problem to overcome. Another thing you want to know is how full is the bucket, because you don't want to have to just keep opening it all the time to see if it needs to be emptied. And then at the same time, since 99% of the dust is going to go into the cyclone, 1% goes into the actual vacuum. So this doesn't need to be so big. Matter of fact, I have 2 of these, and I'm going to take one, cut it apart, and put it on top. And instead of this 5-gallon bucket, I'm going to use this 20-gallon bucket, so that I will now put this on top, and that vacuum actually is going to go on top of this. So I'll have a short, small system that I can move around on wheels, and I'll be able to see how full this bucket is. I'll be able to change it very easily, and this will all be done with this being stationary, so all the tubing doesn't have to keep moving when I want to empty it. So I look forward to doing this project. Time to assemble the cyclone to the lid, making sure the seal is nice and evenly clamped. After gluing up 3 pieces of 2x10, I'm now turning them down on the lathe to form the funnel that the acrylic cylinder will sit on, and on top of the acrylic cylinder will be the actual vacuum. Here I'm routering a groove in a piece of 2x10 that will accept the other end of the acrylic cylinder and an O-ring to hold it a nice seal when I'm using the vacuum. Now to glue up a few pieces that will transition from the acrylic tube to the actual vacuum motor so that it'll all fit together nice and tight. Now it's time to take my shop vac, my 5 horsepower shop vac, and cut it apart, maintaining the impeller area so that the vacuum still works. Installing the silicone O-ring into the groove that'll make the seal to the acrylic cylinder. It's a nice, tight, smooth fit. Here I am applying silicone to the top of the cyclone and the wooden cone I made to make a nice tight seal and hold the acrylic cylinder without any fixture, with any hardware. Putting the finishing touches on the yoke to hold this acrylic cylinder. Time to start putting the cart together, the bottom of the cart. with 2x4s and supports in the corners so that it is nice and rugged and structurally sound to support the rest of the cyclone vacuum. Adding the wheels, the casters, to the bottom of the cart, and as you can see, I stuck them out farther than the perimeter so that it'll make it even more stable. Time to assemble the top of the A-frame so everything's nicely glued and screwed together. Now to assemble the cross brace of the A-frame, making sure everything's nicely glued and screwed as well. With the A-frames put together, I'm now putting the Craig pocket holes in all the legs so that I can attach it to the base of the cart and make a nice strong union. Adding more Craig pocket holes to the supports for the Cyclone to attach it to the A-frames, and adding dowel holes as well to add extra strength. Time to glue the whole assembly together, making sure I add lots of glue and dowels to the base and attaching the Craig pocket screws to hold it all together, making sure everything is nice and square and everything seems to be fitting together perfectly. Here I am attaching the yoke to the top of the A-frame that supports the acrylic cylinder and making sure it's nicely centered and there's no stress on the acrylic cylinder, and it allows it to float up and down, no problem. Adding a piece of 1/8" masonite to the base to make it a nice clean assembly and allows it easily to be cleaned up. Here I'm adding custom cut pieces of wood to the outside of my barrel, making sure it's square, and using silicone on all the screws so that it'll allow me to add toggle clamps to the barrel, and it'll give nice support to the bucket, especially when it's full. Here I'm adding the heavy-duty toggle clamps to both sides of the cart, and these will support the barrel in the up position so that when it's getting filled it can carry the weight, but then it allows it to easily be lowered down when I want to empty the barrel. Adding a simple rubber clamp to the Cyclone inlet so that the hose will never pull out. Here I'm turning 3 oversized large thimble-shaped pieces of wood
that will allow me to form a triangle, and it'll hold all the 40 feet electrical cord to the side of the cart when I'm all done, and make a nice, neat storage. Here I'm adding the 3 thimbles to the side of the cart that'll form a triangle and allow for easy cord storage. Adding a couple simple brackets to hold the vacuum wand.
Hi everyone, this is Charlie Cushane. I just wanted to show you what I think is one of the most efficient cyclone vacuums. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube about how people took a shop vac and bought a cyclone unit and made carts and things, and I wanted to make one that was at least as good, if not better, and address some issues that they had as far as usability. What I did was kind of unique. Instead of having the Cyclone, I have the mini rear view Cyclone. Instead of having this Cyclone on a 5-gallon bucket, I put it on a 20-gallon bucket. And I fixed the lid so it's rigid on this cart, you see. And then you can lower it with these handles here, these toggle clamps. You can lower it, and then you can empty it, pull it right out and empty it. So it's very easy to empty. And this stays fixed. And then when you're done, you just lift it back up again. And it keeps a very good seal based on this bucket I have. Another thing that's unique is I took the vacuum and I cut the motor off, which you see here. And this motor comes right off, as you see. So you can change the filter very easily. And there's a seal, and it sits on this acrylic cylinder. You cast acrylic cylinder. And see, it sits just like that. And then you plug it in. And this is how you could see how the filter is, if it's getting dirty or not. So it's easy to see how you're doing. And I've also added LED lights. Oh, here, Jenny. I've also added LED lights that go down into the bucket.
The view from inside with the bucket removed.
It illuminates the inside of this bucket so you can see how full it's getting without even opening it. Right here is these LEDs. Another thing I did was the hose is attached to the Cyclone entrance with this rubber coupling, so it just won't come out, and it's all very flexible, so there's no stress on this. And as you can see, the Cyclone is supported with these metal brackets I made, and this yoke that you see keeps the top of the cylinder just perfectly centered, but it's not attached, it just still floats, so the cylinder doesn't get any stress. And I turn this piece, this conical shaped funnel, on the lathe, and when you turn the Cyclone on, the suction goes right up into this, and all the debris falls right into the bucket. And I think that's something that we can now demonstrate. Here's where I put the cord wind up. It has a 40-foot cord that you can unwind with a heavy-duty 15-amp cord. So you can plug in any tools you want here. Routers, you name it, you could plug them in there, no problem. This cord goes to the actual vacuum, and this is for the LED lights. This is the handle with for doing floors, and that just simply goes on like that. So let's do a test. I will vacuum up a lot of the sawdust that you see on the floor and on my lathe. I left it there so I could demonstrate this, and Jenny can film how the Cyclone works. Very powerful. Here we go. As you can see, it works great. Almost all the sawdust and everything went down. Nothing goes up into the filter. And even if something did go up in the filter, if it ever fell down, it would just go down through this funnel, down and into the bucket. So it works perfect in that case. So this is it took me about a month working a couple hours a day to build this cart in this A-frame shape, and attaching some brackets to the bucket. But all in all, it works great. I can wheel it around my shop. I can plug other tools into it, and it's super efficient. There's no extra hoses going from a vacuum to the Cyclone. It's all attached solid. So I hope you like it.